being the time and hour, we're going to call this meeting to order, regular board meeting of the Vallecitos Water District. We'd like Rebecca to come up and lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Annette. I called it Rebecca twice, I'm sorry. Old age, it's a terrible thing.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. Roll call, please.
Director Evans?
Yes.
Director Hernandez?
Here. You're just about to be docked.
Check that clock, please.
Clock's on. The clock's on.
Director Paul?
Here.
Director Snell?
Here.
Director Martin?
Here. Thank you very much. Okay, we'd like to adopt the agenda for the regular meeting of September 3rd.
So move.
Second. We have a move and a second. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay, and now we have an introduction of new employees. Come on down. Is the board, do you all have your paddles? You all have our paddles ready?
All right. I'll touch both. All right. Hello. I'll start with Chris. We actually have two. They started on the same day. Chris Deering, he joined the district. They started on August 18th in the position of Plant Operator 1, which was vacant due to a recent resignation. He joins us from Stone Brewing, where he worked for the last year. And in his free time, he enjoys riding motorcycles. So that is Chris.
Terrific.
You left Stone Brewery
From beer to,
To not.
I think he probably has a connection still there. Glad to have you, know.
Welcome.
And our second employee started on August 18th. This is Patrick Barrero. He started in the position of systems collection worker. He previously worked for the city of Vista for the last 1.5 years, and he just came back from his honeymoon. In his free time, he enjoys surfing, golfing, and spending time with his family.
congratulations. What were you doing over at Stone?
We have a water treatment facility we run, so kind of similar stuff, just smells a little better.
Nothing smells better than yours.
And where were you on your honeymoon? Where'd you go? Costa Rica. And was it beautiful? Like the catalog show? Never been there, so I go to La Jolla.
You go.
Uptown. That's great. Well, thank you very much and welcome.
Yeah, welcome.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, guys.
Nice meeting you. Okay, and we have a couple of presentations of certificates, and I'll let Tom read those out.
Yes, we have Ivan Murgaya, who joined the district almost 1 year ago as a plant operator. Sorry, I forgot your name. Murgia, right? As plant operator 1. Prior to that, he worked for Otay Water District for about 1.5 years, another Otay guy. He also participated in the San Diego County Water Authority internship program. Ivan earned his grade 2 wastewater treatment plant operator certificate issued by the State Water Resources Control Board on August 13th. So, all right, Okay, yeah, and we also have we're honored and it's our pleasure to acknowledge Craig and Anthony. Craig Durbin is System Collection Worker 2, and Anthony Fonseca, System Collection Worker 1, if you can come on up. Craig and Anthony were nominated by supervisors and fellow employees for a safety award. They constructed a wash-off grate that allows the collection crew to wash off the camera over the manhole. This process now keeps all sewer contaminants out of the street and out of possible public contact. It also serves as a cover over the open manhole while work is being performed. It also serves as a preventative safety measure, as it prevents tools or even people from falling in an open hole. The best part of this, though, this is my favorite part, is it was made from scrap materials found in the yard that were left over from another job. This is how they constructed that grate, so that's great news. Thank you so much, Craig and Anthony. Congratulations on the award.
And you like that part, Tom, where it didn't cost you any money?
Oh, yeah.
That's-
Yeah. I would patent that, sell it back to them.
We know you would.
Thank you, gentlemen.
And then, Eric Garcia will be recognized next meeting for his award.
Mr. President?
Yes.
I would just like to know, before all the men leave the room.
Gentlemen, hold on a second.
I just wanted to know, when they do something like this, it didn't exist before, so they design it, and then do we share it with the rest of the water world, or?
Well, this one's an internal award. There's also ones from Aqua JPIA that are shared with the rest of the world. And we would, you know, if people are interested.
For a small
Something like that.
fee.
Yeah.
For a small nominal fee, you can. Okay. I see. Great, just sounds
When you
like a
get,
great
when you get a
idea.
chance, we have some problem with the film over this camera here, so if you could.
It's probably the glare.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it probably is. Thank you very much.
Thank you,
Thank you.
thank you.
More makeup. Thank you, guys. All right, we have oral communications, and we have someone, Mike Hunsaker.
Mike Hunsaker, Property Owner Defense League. I'm working with the San Marcos View Estates Mobile Home Parks, as you know. They have 192 spaces. They have water, which is supposedly worth 50 EDUs, and they've been using that for the last 40 years or so. They're looking, and are pretty much mandated, to replace their whole system. And as it's going now, they will have to go with 3/4 inch meters rather than the 5/8. They will have to have over 200 EDU additional capacity. And these lines are failing, sewer particularly, gas lines, it's a well-known problem. This is a largely senior development. They could use any help they can get, but to charge them for more capacity than they ever will need, and more capacity for valves, leasing and rental, or however you want to put it, that's patently unfair to seniors who are fixed income predominantly. There's also some concern up in Ms. Evans and my areas about Miriam Mountains, and I have concern about the continued high rate of development of San Marcos. It appears that the spigots for water and sewer connections is open. It appears that we should have some sort of policy of how to handle these developments in a period of drought. I eagerly await the latest drought update and see what we can do ahead of something that could become a complete disaster. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hunsaker. All right, now in one motion, I'd like to have the approval of minutes, warrant list, financial reports.
So moved.
Second?
Moved and seconded. Roll call, please.
Director Evans?
Yes.
Director Hernandez?
Yes.
Director Vogel?
Yes.
Director Stoneman?
Yes.
Director Martin?
Yes. Okay, item 2.1, drought update from our number 2.
Yes. Thank you, President Martin, members of the board. Starting on page 35 of your board packet, we have an update of the drought. As you know, on August 6th, the board declared a drought level 2, a drought alert condition, which followed San Diego County Water Authority's drought alert on July 24th, which followed the State Water Resources Control Board issuance of emergency regulations. State Water Resources Control Board requires that each month, this report will be once a month, we'll be bringing you an update as we update our usage numbers and such each month. So what I have up on the board is just the same graphs you have in your packet that I'll be talking to. One of the requirements of the regulations was to report on a monthly basis the month that just finished, the production for that month compared to the same month prior year. So the first month they required July and June. So we reported 2 months on time to the State Water Resources Control Board. And this kind of graph just gives you a little bit more history on it. So it looks good. The first 2 months that we reported on, the usage for 2014 in red was just a little bit less than the usage for 2013, same month in blue. Now, what's unique about this drought rather, is that we don't have an allocation, we don't have a specific cutback. Typically, what's happened in the past is it all starts with Metropolitan Water District. When they do their assessment of supply and their assessment of demand, if they come up with, well, shortfall, then each member agency gets an allocation, a reduction, and then so on and so forth. The Water Authority does the same thing to their member agencies. This was unique because it came from the State Water Resources Control Board, which for the very first time had this authority and power to do these emergency regulations. So there was no set percentage cutback. It was just you have to have mandated water use restrictions. The interesting thing is there's 2 sets of rules basically. If you already have, as an agency, a mechanism to do water use restrictions through a mandate, and we do, our Ordinance 162, as long as you put it in action like we did on August 6th, you're good. For agencies that don't have a mechanism to put water use restrictions in place, basically what the State Board said was you need to cut back your usage to 2013. So in the spirit of that 2013, even though it's not technically a requirement for us, we're going to do comparisons to 2013 as we go forward and continue to monitor. This one that I have up is just water production. And the interesting thing about the water production, initially they were looking for consumption. They wanted consumption numbers, the State Water Resources Control Board, but some areas of the state still are not metering. So to get consistency, they said, okay, let's go to production. Production for us is what we call from the San Diego County Water Authority, because we're 100% imported. So our production numbers is just basically our invoice from the San Diego County Water Authority. So even though the last 2 months were down a little bit, we're up in 2014 when we look at year-to-date numbers. This is January through July, looking at 2014, same period compared to 2013. So not unanticipated with the dry weather. So hopefully, and this is before the drought declaration, so hopefully as we go forward, we'll see those numbers get closer. Yes?
Quick question, Tom, 2 things. 2 things that I think are important to note. This is water that we call for. This is
Correct.
when Ed call up and says, I mean, it's not water we necessarily use, because tanks might be a little bit fuller, might be.
Correct. Change in
And the
storage.
second thing, it doesn't take into account anything about population change.
No, yeah, this includes growth, if there was any growth.
It includes growth?
Yeah, this is a total production.
That's the total number.
Yeah, total production. And you'll see in the graph later, we kind of carve that out and say, let's look at usage per meter. So,
Thank you. Oh, go ahead.
And that increase in population, do we have a EDU count on that to perhaps look at, we're over by what looks like about 500, 800 acre feet?
Mhm.
Could that be attributed to those additional units that were added in the year of 2013?
Yeah, that percentage is a lot higher than the percentage increase in, part of it, only part of it is. Percentage might be like 1% increase in adding meters, but so most of it's from use.
Director
Yes.
Sano?
Yeah, Tom, this also reflects any of the extra water that may have been used to fight the fires recently?
That's correct.
Okay, do we have an idea of how
Oh, wait a
much
minute,
of that?
was that July? Yeah, that was July. Was that July or August?
May.
It was May.
Yeah.
So no, this, yeah, that
Yeah,
is
this
in
is-
this number. It wasn't in the previous one, but
No,
it's
but
in
it's
this
in
one.
this one, right?
Correct.
Do we, and I'm sure that you presented this to us
Mhm.
shortly after the fires, but I can't remember. Do we have a rough idea of how much water we used on? How
I
much
had
extra
it.
water?
Ed, if you want to,
Ed knows. Ed knows all.
I had it, I forgot.
He's like
Yeah.
our Siri. Call Ed.
Ed Pedrazzi, O&M manager. 4.2 million gallons is what we calculated. So that sounds like a lot, but when we're talking about thousands of acre feet, it's a drop in the bucket.
Okay.
Yeah, but
Is that a pun?
4.2 million, that's 10 acre feet, 32 times,
Yeah,
a little more.
Still not a lot.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, thanks, Ed. I had those numbers memorized like Ed did when it was going on. He's got the numbers. And to address Director Hernandez's question, we do also, and that's the next graph, we do also look at population data. We have been tracking, anyway, we track for SBX 7, the 20 by 2020 rules. That was what Governor Schwarzenegger signed into law in November 2009. That was a mandate, but that differs from the State Water Resources Control Board in that the 20 by 2020 was a long-term look at conservation. These emergency regulations are just what they are, emergency right now. We got to see some results. So, but in the spirit of that, I also took a look at population numbers. The only thing I don't like about the population numbers is they're a guess. You know, we get population numbers from Sandag, once every 5 years or once every, it's quite a bit. And then in between, we've got to interpolate and guess in between. So we don't know numbers from month to month, but starting in October, State Water Resources Control Board will also be requiring us to report gallons per capita per day. How many gallons a day does a person on average use? So we'll be presenting that as well, and that's what we have over here. What I did on the blue lines is reported the raw data with population estimates each month. What's gallons per capita per day? So that's very volatile seasonally. Very low in the,
What is this board gonna do with those people that don't have meters?
Up in the north?
California?
It is a major undertaking when you actually talk to them and find out it's not so easy as just slapping a meter in the side curb. They're doing them now, but they're finding a lot of issues with property lines, access to backyards. So it's a major undertaking for them, and it's gonna be a while.
So they won't have accurate numbers up
Yeah,
north for
it'll be years, right, correct, it'll be years. Yeah. So what the green line does is kind of average out, takes out the seasonality, it looks at a 12-month average. This is a lot on this graph, but, so what we did is looked at the 20 by 2020, that's the first two horizontal lines, we have a 2015 target, which will kill that one, that's 179.3 gallons per capita per day. And then our ultimate 20 by 20 target, which we're hovering at right now, is 159.4. And then looking at 2013 in the spirit of the State Water Resources Control Board emergency regulations, that would be 154 gallons per day per capita, and we're above that. So, one of our targets, certainly in the short term, is to drop below that 154. So we'll be monitoring that as well. And then the next graph is my favorite one, and this addresses Director Hernandez's concern that what's the real measure of conservation? What are, we know what meters are, we know how many meters we have every month, we know that change, we know what usage is, so let's compare a month-to-month average base meter. You can go to the next slide, yeah, perfect. So what this is looking at our base meters, and 85% of our water usage is in our base meters, 5/8 and 3/4 inch is our base meter. And we start to look at 2013, that first column. The average use per meter throughout 2013 was 14.4 units of water. And that's gone up. Each month it's gone up a little bit. And when it goes up, all that means is that the water used in 2014 was more than the water consumed same month last year. So only in July you see it's just a very slight tick down. So that's what we'll be looking for too when we monitor, and hopefully that'll come down and at least drop below that 14.4 line. Yes.
And this is a good graph. I'm just questioning, does it go anywhere besides us? Because in those districts where they use 1,000 gallons as a unit, they're gonna look like champions.
Yeah.
compared to our 748, so it's not apples to apples.
No,
comparison
yeah,
there.
they'd have to be, if we were comparing agency to agency, we'd have to do a conversion,
Which is what the newspapers will do.
yeah.
So let's make our unit 1,500.
There you go, exactly.
Yeah, that sounds pretty neat.
Flip the coin, come up with that.
So kind of to summarizing what the things we're gonna look at now is in that second graph, we looked at production, year-to-date water production, and year-to-date water production were up 5.6%. And yes, percentage of that was growth, so, a portion of that was growth. And then on the, looking at gallons per capita per day, we were up about 2.1%, when we look at where we're at now compared to 2013, 12-month rolling average. And then this graph that we're looking at now is a 4.2% increase over, right now at the 12 months, or the 12-month average for July compared to 2013 is up 4.2%. So there's 3 different ways of looking and tracking and how we're doing, and we'll continue to monitor those. One of the things we had put into place was our new phone system, and it enables us to keep track of calls for drought. There's like 8 different categories. I kind of lumped them together. And on the next graph is a pie chart that kind of shows not only the calls coming through customer service, but also through our conservation department. This isn't the entire month, because I compiled this about a week ago, so, but as you can see, the big red section, that's the wastewater complaints. It's the waste reported through either our website or people just calling in for that one. So it's 57 of those calls. That's what we rely on heavily to go and inform the public and try to educate the public that what our restrictions are. Yes?
Do we know how many calls these are? Because quite frankly, if there's only 10 calls and half of them are sewer, that's still, are those call numbers or percentages?
Those are numbers, that's raw number of calls, 57 calls.
number of calls,
Yeah,
okay.
57 calls. Yeah, 47 with level information means in blue, that's just inquiring about what does the drought mean for us, just level 2, and what does it mean? And other is all over the board, people calling in from a different district, or people calling in for things other than water waste or specific questions on our restrictions.
Do we know how many of those 57 are grudge calls? Neighbor calling against
56.
another neighbor? Thank you.
Okay, so those.
Director Evans, I'm sorry, Director Evans?
Yes.
I was just wondering, thank you, when we get these 57 calls, what's our response to these, the 57 who are complaining?
Well, we called,
We just-
Lisa.
I
Lisa
just-
calls the,
Okay.
she actually calls the person that the complaint was on, or where the restriction violation was observed.
Uh-huh.
And then we'll just let that person know that we're in a drought, we're in a level 2, this is what you have to do. Yeah. Lisa, do you want to come up and, do you have anything to add to that?
Well, mostly that's all I wanted to know, and if there was like a time period, if we get a call from someone that's complaining that the person across the street is,
Mhm.
do we have a sort of a set standard of how soon we could call them? And I realize the first time it's a first offense, and we're not gonna fine them or do
Yeah,
anything
well,
like
we'll
that,
call
but-
them, we'll call them right away.
Right away.
Yeah, we'll call them right, and we keep track. We have, Lisa maintains a spreadsheet and keeps track of the call and the results of the call as well. And what will happen if, right now, we're not going out, there's no water cops out there looking to write tickets, but if calls continue to come in on the same violator, then we'll send our own employees out there, and we may fine, but only if one of our own employees witnesses the violation will we actually fine.
Mostly just wanna know how quickly we responded. That makes the person who's being complained about opportunity to fix it. The person who complains feel like we responded, and
Yeah,
that's
that's
just
correct.
important in the whole relationship. Thank you, that sounds great.
Director Sinella?
Along the same lines as Director Evans, on these 57, as far as a standard, is there like a standard, do we do any investigative type of inquiries as to what the root cause might be? Is it just that they're watering too long? Is it that and sprinklers are running off down the gutter?
Yeah.
Is there a broken sprinkler pipe or something that maybe we could give some guidance or some some information about? I mean, how engaging do we get with the folks that we're talking to?
Tom, can we ask Lisa to come up?
Sure.
She's in direct contact.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, Ian, Lisa, I don't mean to put you on the spot, but just what are a couple examples of what you've had to deal with this? Because this is probably going to get bigger and bigger as time goes on.
Definitely. Lisa Urabi, Public
Can use me as
Information
an
and
example.
Conservation Supervisor. What was that?
Said you could use me as an example.
Oh, your school district's been great. We've had some issues with the school district as far as sprinkler heads being broken. And that's pretty common in a park situation because you get kids running
Yeah.
around and if you're not running the sprinklers to test them every day. And the school district has been wonderful, so thank you, because they go out the same day and they get it fixed. Same with the city of San Marcos, we notify them and they go out right away.
Yeah.
With residents, it's a little bit harder. Sometimes you have out-of-state people, and so trying to get a hold of them is a little trickier. What we always do is the first thing we do is we let the complainant know within 24 hours, we've got your record. Thank you for reporting this. We will look into it. We don't want them to think that nobody's looking into it.
Yep.
And they're just like, whatever happened to that? So, and what we do tell them is that we're there to educate. We're not here to be punitive. We want to help the people. And if the problem continues after 2 weeks, let us know and we'll ramp up the enforcement.
Have you had any callbacks?
Yes. So we're starting to send letters and get a little bit more aggressive on a few people. But most people, by and large, to answer your question, 99% of it is that people don't know how to program their sprinkler timer.
Mhm.
So we offer a free irrigation audit where somebody can come out and help them program the timer, how to set it for 10 minutes 3 times a week. And most of them just, oh, my gardener handles that.
Yeah.
You know, and he wants everything to look bright green. So,
Mhm.
yeah, so it's a disconnect a lot of the times. So,
Interesting.
yeah.
Okay, thanks.
Other questions?
Okay.
Thank you very much,
Okay,
Lisa.
thank
Thanks
you.
for coming up.
Thank you.
Tom.
And on the, just to wrap up this, what are we doing? And on page 38 of the report, and so you're working with the city a lot on joint events like the Firescape and the Waterwise Landscaping Workshop that we had, articles in San Marcos 360 magazine, and our website. We've loaded up our website with a lot of information, a lot of rebate information too, on what you can do to help. Coast News had a great article on drought for us. That was wonderful. Splash newsletter we have as well. Banners, billing footers, things like that. Magnets, signs on trucks that we're doing as well.
There was a nice write-up in the Sheriff San Marcos, that publication as well.
Which one? Yeah, Sheriff San Marcos, we're getting a publication there as well, an article in there as well. Another joint venture we have coming up is the H2O to HOA with the city, working with the city, and I think I'll leave a hand on that one as well, where we're going to educate property managers for HOAs and landscapers for HOAs and what's available for resources we can give them to make the water use more efficient on that side. If it continues, like Lisa said, if we're not finding the results by tracking and seeing it, then one of the things we've done, we actually are going to go out today or tomorrow, is letters to the top 145 users. If we still don't see results, we might broaden that population, send more letters out. They're friendly letters, but we do let them know you've been identified as a top user. Yes?
Are those top 125 users residential users or?
It's a mix. A lot of irrigation, a lot of single-family. Because what we did is we didn't look at gross water use. We looked at individual categories. Who had the most water use in the highest tier? So tier levels are different for smaller meters. So in other words, we didn't just say, some of them have big meter and justifiable usage. So we looked across.
So you're not
meters.
comparing residential with businesses. The business that may
No,
use water for
no discriminating. Just
manufacturing or.
whatever. If you have usage in a high tier consistently, you got a letter. Yeah, and that's about 145. 18 of the accounts were city accounts, but we've been working directly with the city. They're very appreciative of letting us know about the accounts that they had, and they got on it right away and found a lot of. They're grateful because that's where they're paying most of their money is in the higher tier, so it helped them out and get their water bill down as well.
Tier 4 is expensive.
Tier 4 is very
Yeah,
expensive.
it
Yeah,
is.
got their attention, and believe it or not, we still have usage in Tier 4.
Yeah.
So, but that's what we'll target to target first to get that down. Yeah. The other thing that we monitor, not only water, but my favorite thing, money. Now, one of the concerns is that, well, what if people just stop using water? We're not gonna have any revenue. The rate structure is such where we're trying to cover our fixed costs with fixed revenue, so that's a good thing there. And if people aren't using water, our biggest expense, our biggest variable expense is the cost of water. So we're not paying a water authority when people aren't using water. So it's not as bad as people think, but we still want to pay attention to it. And what I have here is just a graph of all of our money, basically, in our water fund. And the bar on the right is where we anticipate to be at the end of the budget year, by June 30, 2015. The bar on the left is just where we are now, in the different tranches of money, where it's classified. And basically 5.8 million available in water reserves is not a heck of a lot, considering what it's supposed to be there for is for replacements, unscheduled replacements, with you know, the amount of infrastructure we have out there. So it's there, we'll monitor it, and this is another thing we'll report on month after month, too. And this is just for information, so I'd be glad to answer any more questions.
Any questions? Thank you. Thank you very much for the update. And we're gonna be doing this drought update once a month on the second meeting of the month?
Second meeting, so we'll follow it up again, because we'll have the August numbers processed for next meeting. So the second meeting of each month, we'll do an update.
All right. And the feature for tonight? 2.2, revised water treatment agreement with the Levenheim Municipal Water District.
Yeah, thank you, President Martin, members of the board. Have a presentation for you too, also on this. Most of the board members weren't here when we started this, so we figured we'd give you a little background on it before we get into the specific item. In 2007, the Integrated Water Resources Plan identified 8 or 9 different alternatives for alternative water sources to look at. And basically the board kind of narrowed it down to 3 really, with the North County Regional Water Cycle Group. But basically what we looked at is DSAL and the Levenheim Municipal Water District contract with them for another connection in our San Leo Hills area. So with that, we've also incorporated in our strategic plan that was recently reaffirmed. Strategic focus area 6.1 was to pursue and develop all potential cost-effective, reliable water resources. And actually, what we're pursuing here is going to be a little bit of a cost savings. In the 2008 master plan and the CAP fee study that was based on that master plan identified a pump station for alternative source water in there. And if you go to the next slide. So some of the benefits of the agreement, looking at Levenheim, before in the planning stages, we went ahead and had a document, an agreement in place to go forth. And in that agreement, with reduced treatment costs, basically it compared what they were going to charge us for treatment with what the San Diego County Water Authority charges us for treatment, which that component has been growing pretty much. In 2015, it's going to be $278 an acre foot, which is pretty huge. But anyway, so what this agreement did is it took the raw water, basically what we're hiring, what Levenheim is doing is treating it for us at their treatment plant. So it's still raw water from Water Authority, but the delivery point is different. So there's diversification in the supplier. Now we're getting it from a Levenheim in our southern end of the district, and the supply point is different than Vallecitos 7. Yes.
I know we talked about this, but I'm having a really difficult time with calling this an alternative water supply. Do they get their water from another source other than Met?
I think they get it all from Water Authority, from the raw water line, from the Water
So they
Authority.
get it all from Met, San Diego County Water Authority, same place we get all our water from. So what's the alternative water source am I missing? I understand we get filtered water, they get raw water, but other than them processing it, it's all coming from the same source. So when you say alternative source, that is questionable, is it not?
Focus on the source point. The source, it comes in raw, but
Source point's Colorado River.
our point of delivery is very different. Instead of being treated all the way up in Skinner and coming 200 and something miles into our district, here it's treated right here at our district. So that's the real diversification and the real benefit, is to have a different source point. It's looked at very favorably by our our rating agencies. I guess that's but it's not a different source of water. It's still coming from the water authority, but it's how it's perceived and specifically where the point of delivery is, which is a big benefit for us. If we got cut off for some reason, earthquake or whatever, from the north, we still have that delivery point here, which we wouldn't otherwise. We'd be shut off. Different,
I
same,
understand, but
same water.
Levenheim, if we should have that emergency,
Yeah.
is not gonna give us water that they need for their own customers. We're gonna be treated as third stepchild, are we not?
We work well together,
Which should
so
be
it's-
understandable.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, we work well together. We've shared water. We have an interconnection that help each other out when a drought happens, so, yeah. It should be available to us. But, you know, nothing's certain on that one. But even at times of when the pipeline's down for maintenance, having another connection is a huge benefit, particularly in times of fire. It causes us, one of the benefits up there, I think I have it up there, is redundancy. Right now, we just have one connection, Vallecitos 7, I believe it is down there in San Alejo. This will give us another connection, 2 different sources, and if, you know, one thing's down for fire suppression especially, we'd have another source as well. So,
Hitting all the bullet points, I like it.
trying to, yeah. Probably a few I missed even, but.
Just make them up as you go, it's okay.
So we'll have the ability to move water in San Alejo. Right now, there's a lot of costs involved. If we wanted to move water from the north, a lot of pumping costs. This will help avoid that. There's pumping costs, but not as much as moving it from north. And the nitrification issues, that's what I kind of mentioned about coming all the way from Skinner. We still incur treatment costs in this district because we're not treating within this district.
Skinner's 50 miles, isn't it? Not 250.
I don't know. How many miles is Skinner? 50, sorry. 50 miles, a little bit different. But still a huge difference when it's right in our neighborhood. So it'll make a big difference there. And then the capital recovery, we have a capital recovery component of this agreement where they recover our capital costs, or at least some of our capital costs for building this pump station that's required. And so any capital recovery will help reduce what's already in the rate now.
And correct me if I'm wrong, my mistake is that I don't think we had a capital recovery prior to this bump in price. This bump in price has caused capital recovery. I thought Levenheim was going to
in
be
this agreement?
paying us back over 20 years for our upfront costs and reduced rate for our upfront cost of building this facility.
The original agreement hasn't started yet because we didn't get any deliveries, but with the original agreement, sort of like this revised agreement, with deliveries, with an invoice, each invoice will have a credit, which represents the Levenheim recovering, paying us for the recovery of
But
capital.
there was no capital recovery lowering the cost being passed on to anyone else.
Before this agreement, there was no, before.
The agreement that we worked out prior to this bump in price.
Are you referring to the pump station cost?
Wasn't there an agreement we were looking at 2 months ago, and we've tabled this twice so we could come up, because we had.
Oh,
no
that's
pricing?
that's for the award for the pump station, yeah, and that's our next item
Okay.
after this one.
I guess I'm just trying to get it to it. But okay.
Yeah, and that's your segue is that last bullet point, boom, and that's what the second item is going to cover, is the cost and the award of that pump station in particular. And if you go to the next slide then. So it's just some of the changes from the revised agreement to the old agreement, to the original agreement that really didn't get off the ground yet because we didn't get any water yet. This is the cost of the pump station, which James will cover in detail. He's prepared for that. It was originally about $800,000. It's going up to $2 million. The monthly capital recovery credit was in the original agreement was $4,901 a month, and that was full recovery. But that credit has gone up to $5,975, but it's only partial recovery. And then the cost of treatment. Originally, we were going to pay Levenheim 75% of Water Authority's treatment charge per acre foot for the first 2,750 of acre foot per year delivered through that point. And then 90% of the charge we would pay them thereafter. And we negotiated that to be 80% for this revised proposed agreement. 90% was kind of skinny after looking at cost increase for power. So 80% works well for us and just simplifies the agreement. So those are the only changes from the agreement that was already approved and adopted. And I'll just open up for questions. What we're looking for is a recommendation is for the board to allow staff, authorize staff to sign an agreement with Leavenham Municipal Water District for water treatment.
Questions? Yeah. Please, Director Paul.
So, anyway, I think it's a good cooperative relationship that we have with the Leavenheim, and this also helps them. I don't think you mentioned it, which is kind of their cost of service for water treatment kind of makes it worthwhile for them to have the production of water treatment. So it's a good for them, and it's good for Vallecitos in that, as you were saying, we have another source for water in that section of our district out there. So let me ask you this: the amount of water that we're allocated, how is that? How does that figure out with the Leavenheim? So
We actually looked both at what they could deliver to us
yeah.
and what we would use, what Vallecitos would use. There's from that in that area, and it just worked well. That 2000, we both have an incentive to have as much going through this delivery point as possible because it helps them use up their unused capacity and helps us because we get a good discount on our treatment costs. So 2,750 is very comfortable, a number to achieve. So we're not concerned about the minimum.
That's probably another thing was about their unused capacity.
Yes, that's the benefit to them, absolutely.
Yeah, right.
Gain efficiencies.
Okay, very good. Okay.
Any questions?
I did have just one.
Director Evans?
You had said we're going to, I understand we're increasing the CRC from the 4901 to the 5975.
Sure.
But you said something and it just, I wrote it down here. You said it was from full recovery to partial recovery?
Yes, originally when it was, the original agreement back in 2012, the estimate for the pump station was $800,000. But then the estimate went up to 2030, and that's when, actually, for two reasons. That reason, Leavenham came to us to say, can you share a little bit in this big increase in the cost? And then at the same time, we went to Leavenham and said that 90% doesn't cut it, we need a bigger discount. So
that's where we get the 80%, and then the partial recovery. So how much of the recovery is it?
it's about 1.3 million of the two.
Thank you.
What was the percentage?
The percentage?
Yeah, the percentage of the partial recovery,
65%.
and the balance, the other 35% is coming from where?
The other 35% would be coming from rates, and it's already in our cap fee, so it'll just be a little bit less now in our cap fee.
It's in our capital
Capital facilities, water capital facilities fee.
Water capital facilities rate base. So who's gonna pay that 35%?
That third,
The ratepayer, future development? who
future
pays it?
development. Yeah,
So
it's
that's
a-
35% being put on future development.
Yeah.
But there's actually a cost reduction in
there's already money in there for it, because it's future projects, so we look at future projects, and we also look at debt that hasn't been paid yet for past projects in that cap fee study. So there's money in there now, so any capital recovery will actually help reduce that rate now. So when we go set the rates, probably 2016, after the master plan is done and plan, we'll do another cap fee study. That's a relatively small change compared to looking at all the changes that kind of roll up. It's only 5 to 6 years that we look at it, so that numerator.
What you're saying is the 0.8 to 2 million, that change there, there's enough slush in there to cover it? Is that what you were saying? You had money already, Jim asked a question.
The calculation
so
of the
there's money
fee.
in there.
Yeah, the calculation of the cap fee, I hate to throw math at you, but there's a cost to, for future development, for all projects related to growth, and for debt that hasn't been paid yet for growth-related projects. That's about 140 million up in the numerator, and then we divide that by the future EDUs of the district, which is about another 20,000 EDUs. So in that 140 million, this is a very small component, that's why it's very small, but in that 140 million is the cost of a pump station. And any capital recovery we get from this agreement will help reduce that.
So what caused our assumption of 0.8 million to move to 2 million? What's happened? What price went up?
Do you want to
Price of
address that
pump?
now, James? Is that all right if I have a,
Oh, I think that's wonderful. to bring
it's kind of a
things up.
prelude to our next one, but might as well,
You
right?
get by this one before you get to the next
Yeah,
one.
I won't have anything to say on the next one if I, but thank you, President Martin, members of the board, James Gumpel, District Engineer. There's several factors. So back in 2012, what we did was we looked at our last pump station that we built, which was the Wolf Pump Station, and we looked at the cost. This pump station was about equivalent size. Wolf Pump Station was under $1 million. We ENR'd it up, and then we also went out and asked contractors for their estimation of costs. With that, we also checked with 3 other agencies locally. One was Encinitas, the other one was Vista, and I can't seem to remember a third right now, of what their recent pump station costs were for something equivalent size. So we took all that data, and they were getting about $700,000, roughly $650,000 for the pump station cost based on current bid prices.
I'm
That-
sorry, David, the Wolf Station was built in 2012?
No, Wolf Station was built in like 2007, 2006, and then we escalated it up with the ENR cost index, and then we also checked with 3 other pump stations that were built more recently, more of 2010, 11 price range for bidding, and of course the last component is we actually went out and talked to about 3 contractors on what their estimation was for the pump station. With that being said, we had a fairly comfortable number. We also had a site that we had picked out that was already a paved area. What we didn't know is when the developers gave that land back made a conservation area, they actually accidentally made the paved area a conservation site. So we had some additional, even though it was already paved, so we actually had to work through the resource agency, and the board may recall several months back, we came back with an amendment to our programmatic EIR to actually include the pump station, which was already included as far as on a program level and actually specified.
What was your additional cost for that?
More engineering costs on the environmental side, almost $50,000
$50,000.
total. A lot of it was staff time, only about $25,000 in actual consultant time.
Okay, so $25,000.
Plus another 25 for staff, so 50 total. The other portion of it is with the current workload.
And I'm sorry, just to get this right, that 0.8 million, does that include staff time?
Yes.
Yes,
Or does that not?
absolutely. It includes
Okay, so
staff
then we're
time.
adding 50,000 for additional staff time and
Yeah, that-
the work to process it
Yeah,
through. So it's an
exactly.
additional 50,000.
Mhm.
Got it.
So the other component that we found out is when we priced out the pumps back in 2012, they came in less than half of what they are now. The cost of materials have gone through the roof. Cost of steel pipe, basically steel manufacturers has told us in the bid, and so has the contractor that we verified with them, is that all the steel is going to Poseidon. So if you want to pay for steel, you're going to pay premium. So those numbers equate to almost $400,000, almost $450,000 in total price increase in the bid by itself was the steel pipe, the pump, and the mechanical electrical equipment. So,
So 450,000 for the price of
yeah,
steel.
and that's an estimate. Obviously, the contractor wouldn't divulge everything to me. So, and then the other portion of that was.
Can I ask a quick question on that?
Yes, sir.
I'm sorry. The new pump, other than a price change, is there a quality change? Do they
No,
still last 5
exactly the
years,
same.
10 years? How long do they last?
No, it's the same thing. Water pump
15.
stations, 15 years about before they need replacement.
15.
15 to 20, so with good
Is
maintenance.
that a cost recovery that you work into a Liebenheim?
Yes.
That before the end of this, you're gonna have to replace a $450,000 item, today's price, that price could be $900,000.
Yeah, and recovery replacement comes from user fees.
Yeah.
Correct.
Well, specifically to your question, there is in the formula, in a recovery formula, there's an escalation for inflation in there as well. So that's kind of covered. Now, it's only an estimate, so we don't know obviously what it's going to be in the future, but there's a cost of capital inflationary factor in there for replacement.
SCG&E gave us a kind of a late notice. We are 100% done with the design of the project, in which the transformer and the basically electrical service was deemed okay. SCG&E came back and said, no, we need to upgrade that system. So that we incurred about $35,000 to $40,000 additional design costs. And when I talked to the contractor, another $150,000 to $250,000. It was his estimation, but he didn't have it broken up, so I took a middle road on that and said $200,000 on that for the SEG upgrade. So now, what they're saying is the existing electrical service, which is tens of feet away from the pump station, is no longer valid. We need to pull new wire and upgrade the service from a different point.
Wow. I was gonna ask that $200,000, what's that buy you, wire from a different point? Is that what?
It's what the contractor, when I talked to him, was his cost. He said he didn't have it broken up. He gave me a range of what the additional SE, because it was an amendment that we made right at the end. So we had a project bid out. We said, okay, we need to make a change. And I asked him specifically, what did that change cost him? And he said, well, it's mixed in with my whole electrical bid, but if I had to guess, $150,000 to $250,000. I don't think that's a very fair, so I just took the middle of 200. One of the other costs was construction management. Right now, we're going to have, by fall, engineering at Vallecitos will have about 7 projects out to construction in one form or another. With our staffing, we can't inspect that. Plus, a pump station is a specialty item. And with the specialty item, it's the inspection requirements are more stringent. You have to be there all the time than compared to putting pipe in the ground. So with a pump station especially, so we went out and we staked one of our as-needed consultants, Valley CM, to give us a price for construction management. So that was an increased cost. Their cost is about $112. Obviously, we would have had staff time. We had about $75,000 or $60,000 to $75,000 in staff time in there.
So the difference is $35,000?
$35 to 40, yes.
35.
So
Let's go 40.
let's go 40. And the last
We're
portion
still
of it.
counting your pennies, you're getting down there.
Yeah, I'm getting there, yeah. Last section is actually fairly significant because it hits everything, or a couple more, fairly significant. It hits everything across the board. In 2012, we didn't have our new overhead structure rate. So when we set the budgets and set the agreements in 2012, our overhead structure was 0.75. Now it's, well, at this point it was 1.95. Now it's 1.8.
1.8588.
We're charging ourselves?
85?
Yeah, we charge ourselves.
Good.
I had to pay it. Where does that make sense? We had to pay it.
So, and
It's our
I
overhead
haven't-
charge, our
You're gonna
overhead
have to
charge.
explain this to me.
Yeah, so our overhead charge definitely for our, so any labor spent in design from when the new overhead rate was adopted throughout construction is going to be higher. So instead of a 0.75 factor being added to the hourly rate, you're adding 1.95, or for most of it, and the rest of it would be 1.8 and change.
So Tom, explain to me, we're charging ourselves more overhead. What?
No, we're allocating costs of overhead to jobs. So in other words, if somebody puts their time, an inspector puts their time to a job, we incur a lot more costs than just the time of that inspector. You know, it's all the indirect costs, supervision costs, administrative costs, cost to maintain this building. It's a very common concept and this went before the board in October when we did our overhead rate. We had the same overhead rate for many years, and we finally did the study that was necessary to change it.
Right.
And it's,
And I don't disagree with that,
Yeah.
I'm just baffled that we're taking out of one pocket to put in another pocket when the ratepayer is paying for both pockets.
yeah, it's
That's a bookkeeping number.
correct, yeah, it's an allocation of costs and where is it recovered?
So it's
When
a
we did,
bookkeeping number, it's not a real cost.
it's a real cost.
Oh,
They take real costs and allocate them to where they belong. It's being careful not to double dip and allocate all the costs.
But when you allocate it from the one pool to a secondary pool, if you will, then you remove it from the original pool.
Correct, yeah, if you look
it's
at our
not a real-
budget.
You're not getting double dipped.
No, in our operating budget, we have a negative number for an expense for that overhead, so it actually reduces
Yeah.
the revenue requirement on the user side.
And the last piece, I couldn't get the contract to quantify it, but when you do pipe material, when you do mechanical fittings, you use millwrights, you use specialized contractors or specialized labor. You don't just get a guy without experience to do welding of 16-inch pipe or to install and balance a pump. So, not of this size, how's that? The other thing that the contractor, and he couldn't give me a number, but he just said it's a significant cost, was the fact that Poseidon has hired almost all the millwrights out of the union right now for the desal plant itself. The amount of piping that's involved in that has pretty much taken up the pool. So he's bringing in people from out of the area and has to get union permission because unions are territorial. And it's in San Diego County. So he has to get union permission to do that, and he said that's a significant extra cost. I tried to get it at 100,000, is it 50,000? I couldn't get a number from him, but he said it's just a significant cost. So he's already setting the stage for, you know, this job is skinny for him. is
Actually, he
what it's
just
on.
emailed me that number. It's the difference between 800,000 and the number on Director Martin's piece of
Yeah,
paper. right there.
I'm looking to add that up because it's not working.
So
You
I'm sure
get-
I'm getting close though. And then,
Getting closer, there's a lot of fluff left on
Yeah,
this.
so, and then the last portion of it obviously is the contingency. When we set in the budget, the contingencies at 7.75%. So it's 7.75% of a smaller number, not 7.75% of a large number. That contingency is set by board policy.
That's $7,050 right there.
Yeah.
Um,
No, not half.
Let me ask a question. We have another project that the Water District said that we're gonna do because we're gonna save money.
Mhm.
And this is adding the pipe from Poseidon to our line, doing something here in town. That apparently, judging by all these numbers you just gave me, is out the window. Because we're not gonna find any steel to do it. We're not gonna find anybody to do it, except for a muffler repair guy. Do we have to rethink what we've just said we're gonna do with that project?
It's
Well, it's-
75% done now.
Yeah.
Being
well,
done by Poseidon?
No, it's done by
Well-
Poseidon. Yeah. So Poseidon's still doing that first portion. So Poseidon's putting 200 feet of pipe in and the connection to the aqueduct system to their 54-inch line. Our project will start after they're done. So the hope is the demand's not there, all the steel's delivered, they have already reduced force because the entire 54-inch pipeline's in, the majority of the millwright work within the actual desal plant's completed. So if we were trying to do that project now, and then you're absolutely right, we'd have a major concern with availability of materials and labor. But we haven't even got the plans yet. So as far as bidding that project out, we're not expecting to bid it out until late fall or basically early next year. And with that timing, Poseidon has told us that they'll be basically done. All the pipe will already be delivered, so that frees up the material costs, and they'll already reduce force by about 75%.
So what is our, and taking that into consideration, that information, which is great news, sounds like about a year from now, we'll be in great shape. Why aren't we building a pump station a year from now? Why are we pressed to build it now and to move forward now, rather than waiting a year and a half when Poseidon's finished? Will we still build a pump plant? Is there a pressing need that I'm not getting?
Well, one of the things is there may be some savings on the pipeline costs, for sure, and some of the labor costs. But however, the pump cost itself has nothing to do directly with Poseidon. The pump just increased in cost significantly. It's not like
The pump
Poseidon's.
has steel?
Partially, yeah, but mostly the pump manufacturer has increased their cost. So the electrical equipment itself has increased. I haven't talked to the electrical suppliers, but that's just what the cost is going for now. During the recession, and right at the post of the recession, a lot of the prices were really down, and we were getting very good bids on all of our projects. Matter of fact, most of the engineers' estimates were 30% high. And then the last few bids we've gotten in have come in right at engineer's estimate. And really, this project just came in just a little bit over. But the engineer's estimate has also changed over the last 2.5 years.
But from the numbers you gave me, other than the union problems you might face, $780,000, so that's, say, another 8. So you're leaving maybe $400,000 for the union problems. Those would be solved if we waited a year, according to what you're telling me about the other project.
Yeah, and I don't believe that's all union problems. It's also the contract bid environment is just a lot of it. They're just charging more for the jobs. Again, 30% discount on engineers' estimate bids 2 years ago. When we did the Interceptor project, that was estimated about a $5.8 million job. We got it for 4.5. It came in at 4.25. So that's a huge discount based on bid environment. That same contractor couldn't bid and win the Linda Vista job because they were about $1 million high if they put their numbers together. And on the Linda Vista job, we, as you may recall, we bid that project twice. The second time we bid it, it came in right at engineer's estimate. The first time we bid it, we had a contractor that came in about $200,000 below, but they admitted they made a mistake, and we gave them relief. So really, the rest of the numbers is just within the bid environment itself. You know, whether that's contractor profit or that's what their cost is, I really have no idea. So that's.
I'm just questioning the rationale. Why are we in a rush to do this if we know the other project we're doing would be okay because we're doing it after Poseidon's complete?
Yeah.
What's
And
the
that,
rush?
the other project's a pure steel pipe project. It's a steel pipe, steel connection. And with that, really, the savings are direct, because we're talking about ordering steel pipe from the same source. With this one, it's a pump manufacturer, electrical equipment manufacturer is the majority of the cost of a pump station, and electrical subcontractors are the biggest sub to the contract itself. Those aren't directly related to Poseidon. That's just the bid environment.
I'm experiencing the very same thing. The days of less than engineers' estimates are way over. It's going to be more expensive next year than it is this year.
Mhm.
We're definitely on an upswing in the construction environment, and I personally believe if, even with the Poseidon thing completing, they've already tasted this level, and they're not going backwards. So it's going to be a standard increase that we've seen time and time again. So waiting a year, I don't think is going to benefit us at all. So.
Director Evans?
Thank you. I'm going to kind of piggyback on that and just say that the other thing we have to look at is not only is it going to go up naturally, but with the drought, there's a great deal of push going to come up with alternative water supplies. And I think you're going to see everybody is looking at construction. They're looking at what can they do and how can they do a reservoir and how can they use it for pump storage or for storage. I think we'd be very short-sighted if we were to delay. I'm also hoping, I don't know if it's possible or not, but if the water bond passes, there's a significant amount of money in the proposition that's in front of us that could actually apply to these types of projects. And I would have a little bit to say about the bond later under the Water Authority report, but I think it's real important once again that we have shown we're ready. And it's not a coming project, it's one we're trying to move forward on if we have any hopes at all of receiving those types of funding. Just my comment on it, and it's actually been a long time in coming in a way, hasn't it?
Yeah, it's a process started in 2007 with the IRP, so.
Director Bode?
I'd like to move that we accept the recommendation to authorize staff to execute the revised agreement on 2.2.
Have a motion and a second?
I'll second.
Discussion?
You have a second? And a
Just,
comment?
yeah, just a quick, a little bit more discussion. So, I agree with the benefits. If you go back to the slide before this one, and it talks about all the different benefits that Tom laid out. I think those are all great things to have and worthy causes for us to move forward on. I'm just a little concerned, though. It seems in my first 7, 8, 9 months on the board that everything we present everything as, oh, we're saving money, it's a cost savings. And what is the return on investment on this? Will we ever see it?
On page 42 of your packet is,
I see two lines that are running parallel.
Yeah.
They don't connect.
It's a break-even point.
Okay.
It's looking at it two ways. One with, if you consider the capital recovery, right about 2,750 is your break-even. If the capital recovery, like I said, is from cap fees, then 1,000 is your break-even. So in other words, if you're looking for ROI, it's exponential beyond that horizontal line, behind the break-even line. It's, the percentage is exponential beyond that. You can't quantify it. It is the more we take from, the more deliveries we get, the bigger that ROI is.
Also, Director Sinella, one of the factors, the cost wasn't the primary driving factor. We didn't want to increase the cost of water, but the really driving factor was operational flexibility and redundancy. in the area. In most of the district, we have several ways to get water to our population if one source is cut off, as far as a point source. In the San Leandro Hills area, we really have one primary source. We have the ability to get the water over the hill, but we have a plumbing, a bottleneck, which is actually being worked on now. Also to get water from the San Leandros, from this pump station, to get it over into the Coronado Hills area from another source, this would be beneficial. So both from a regional and also from a local benefit, there was a San Leandros Hills area compared to the rest of our district, how with redundancy and reliability had a chink in the armor. I wouldn't say it's a complete weakness because the system ran very well, especially with our operators. But however, this would give us that additional point source of water in case one source is shut down. And since I've been here in 9 years, I believe there have been at least 2, maybe 3 shutdowns in which we had to connect an emergency connection in the San Leandro area to Olivenheim to serve water to that area during planned shutdowns. So just in that case alone, it's a benefit.
And I agree with you 100%. That alone is worth supporting this. I just think we need to be a little bit mindful of labeling things that are before us as this is going to be more efficient, this is going to be a cost savings, because when I hear, as a board member, when I hear cost savings, I want to instantly look for ways to give it back to the ratepayer. And it's not just us, but it seems like government agencies from local, state, and federal, it never works that way. You never enact some more efficient process or save money in an area and then give it back to the taxpayer or give it back to the ratepayer. And I don't really think that, maybe at some point there might be some weird calculation where this actually pencils out, but I think it's more likely that it's probably not.
One of the benefits that hasn't been really discussed is as every year as the treated water rate goes up, our dollar amount, because it's a percentage, increases. And I don't know if there's a full sensitivity analysis that's been done on that. However, I think it's not really viewed as a cost savings, but more of a cost offset to the increase with desal water coming in.
We calced in a reduction to the rate. When we projected rates going forward, the desal component was going up like this, but because of this agreement, we had a little bit of an offset. Not a huge offset, it's certainly not a dollar for dollar offset against the desal. It just helped a little bit, so it actually is cranked into the rate.
Okay.
The rate projection, we haven't realized it yet.
If you would, and maybe you do a little bit differently, James, explain to me alternative water, number one, what you consider alternative. If it all comes from Colorado, it all comes from Colorado, varying routes. And also, San Alejo, I think, is basically built out except for about 300 homes, maybe 350 homes. Is it unsafe out there now? I thought that during the last fire, we were prepared to move water from San Alejo Hills over to Coronado, which could have happened if the pump station went out. We do have redundancy now, do we not, or am I wrong?
No, we have the ability to move water over from our South Lake pump station over into the San Leandro Hills area, but we have a bottleneck which is being taken care of through the last project, the last units that are going to be built in San Leandro. Unit, I forgot if they're Unit O or Unit T. They're the ones that go up to the park area, kind of across from the fire station. And there's a 16-inch pipeline that's being built by the developer that we have a reimbursement agreement, which will basically get rid of, shorten the amount of pipe and also get rid of the 10-inch bottleneck. And with that in place, we have more efficient ways of getting water from the Coronado Hills pump station or South Lake pump station over into San Leandro Hills area. However, if you think about the makeup of the system, the way we operate or the way we design it, is South Lake pump station is built for South Lake, that demand. So if you had an outage in the San Leandro Hills area and you had full demand in the summertime or a fire situation in the Coronado Hills area, there may not be extra capacity to move that water. So that's why we have storage tanks, as you know, to help with that peak demand. So now with this, if you had an aqueduct shutdown, for example, you'd still have water coming in. You don't have to rely on just your storage to help fill that. If we lost South Lake pump station during the fires, especially with the 16-inch line going in, you'd have more ability to move water over the hill. So there's two components, how much water you can pump. That's usually the bottleneck, or there's a plumbing issue. In this case, we kind of have both. I didn't want to call it a deficit. I'd call it a chink in the armor compared to the rest of the system. The way our system's designed, We have water coming from all outside sources, from the north, from the east, and from the west, and we feed it into the middle. So for majority of the residents within our service boundary, San Luis Hills, we have one real main source of water that's meant for that area. And then we have a secondary source in case of emergency. But we wouldn't want to rely on that if we're experiencing high usage.
This is a third source. Okay, and I'm curious to where the alternative is like.
Yeah, but this source is also sized for the full load of San Luis Hills with the tanks.
But they get their water from the same source we do.
Yeah, and as far as the alternative water, the way Met would define it is, you could develop water resources and the credits. So if you develop from the raw water source, and then they have the potable water source. It all comes from the, Northern Cal or Colorado River, as you stated. However, it's still considered a different source, mainly for reliability reasons. When you have a shutdown in the aqueduct system, when the treatment plant goes down, which they do from time to time, or they need maintenance on a pipeline, they almost never, to my knowledge, shut down both the raw water and the filtered water pipes. One's always flowing. So in this case, for Vallecitos, since we're 100% dependent on the filtered water pipes, the potable water, when they have that shutdown, we have to set up emergency connections with a Livenheim in that area. And that's been our regular practice, again, 2 or 3 times in the last 9 years. So with this pump station in service, during a treated water shutdown, planned or unplanned, we would have a constant water source from the raw water. And so that's an advantage. So from that perspective within our master plan, it's viewed as an alternative water source, but it's ranked lower than like desal as far as an alternative water source, because that truly is a different pot, so to speak. But however, it still has some of the merits of what additional reliability would cause with an alternative water source.
Okay, so the 1.2 million add that we have now to build this, went from 8 to 2, 0.8 to 2. How much of this is Levenheim paying for?
About
And
1.3
About 1.3?
million total.
Levenheim's paying for 1.3? No. they
Correct.
can't be paying for
Yeah,
that.
it's on,
Oh, 1.3 total, okay, instead of from 8 to 1.3. They were paying all 0.8, is that correct?
correct, yes, they were paying the whole 0.8 when it was 0.8.
Okay. So we've
Now
got
they're paying
400,000
1.3 of the 2.
Okay, so the 800, does that leave 800,000 that now we're adding
That's correct.
to our cap cost to a
That's
future
correct.
developer?
No, let me kind of clarify that a little bit. Our existing master plan had a alternative water pump station, whether it was going to be desal or Livenheim, we didn't really know. We were guessing it may have been desal, but it was earmarked for alternative water. So within the cap fee currently is about 3.5 or 4.5. Rob, do you remember by any chance?
3.5, I think it was,
Three-
I thought it was
3.5?
3.1, but.
Okay, about $3 million. About $3 million inside the cap fee. So now, basically, that $3 million that's already in the cap fee is going to be reduced to $800,000 because the rest of it is being covered by a Livenheim Water District. So it's actually a reduction. So in the next master plan, instead of having that $3 million as a borne cost or a future project, that number is going to be the real number of whatever it ends up being. If it's 800 or 700,000, it'll be that number plugged into the next cap fee study, which happens after the master plan. So currently, within the structure is about $3 million for a pump station. Since Tom and the district was able to negotiate a capital cost recovery, that actually comes off future development.
So that 3 million that's set aside now will go to pay for this?
Yes, except it's coming in at 2 total, so, and 1.3 of it is being recovered, or 1.2 and change.
Yeah, can't double dip, so.
So you can't double dip.
We'll reduce that from, in the rate.
You charge yourself something?
We can come up with
Probably
an
not that
overhead
much.
rate to,
Not without getting in big trouble.
Yeah. Thank you very much for
Thank
a
you.
very thorough report to both of you. We have a motion and a second on the floor. Roll call, please.
Director Evans?
Yes.
Director Hernandez?
yes.
Director Poe?
Yes.
Director Sinella?
Yes.
Director Martin?
Yes. Thank you.
Good job, James.
Great job, staff, great job.
Stay
You'll
right
still
there.
make it home tonight.
Maybe.
Okay, now we're going to 2.3, award of construction contract.
Well, I think we can just look for a recommendation on this one.
Yeah,
Go ahead,
I think
James,
we
if you
covered
will.
most of this. So just to go over the highlights here, this is the actual 3,000 gallon per minute pump station now. We've actually awarded this project, and as the board recalls, we tabled it to talk about the increase in cost with Livenheim, which the board just took action on at the previous item. So with this, unless there's any questions, we're recommending a budget increase of $700,000. Award a construction contract to Canyon Springs Enterprises for an amount of $1,365,823, and award of construction management contract to Valley CM, which is one of our as-neededs, at $112,104. And I'd be happy to answer any additional questions.
So the construction management company, you're going to be hands-free?
No, it still takes some staff time, but now we don't have to have a full-time inspector out there, and that's the big savings. But as far as project management, it's about the same for the engineering staff.
Still have to manage the management.
Questions? Director Porter?
I move that I make the recommendation on 2.3, that we accept staff
Second.
recommendation.
Motion and second, roll call, please.
Director Evans?
Yes.
Director Hernandez?
Yes.
Director Polo?
Yes.
Director Snell?
Yes.
Director Martin?
Yes.
Thank you very
Thank you,
much.
James.
Great job, staff. 2.4, final acceptance of water and sewer improvements for the quad, phase 3.
Yes, staff is looking for is recommending final acceptance of water and sewer improvements of the quad. This would be mixed commercial space, 64 student housing dwelling units. Fees have been paid. There was no warranty bond required because there was no mains added. So staff recommends the board's final acceptance of the quad and authorization to file a notice of completion.
Second?
Quick discussion, they had an open house the other day. I suggest if they have another open house, you go and, Mike, you were there. Did you go to the open house?
No. I've been there, but not that night.
Yeah, Greg was. I'm glad. See, I confused Greg with
We're
Mike.
both good-looking guys.
It's easily done.
Oh, totally.
We both have a lot of hair. I would recommend if you get a chance to go over there and take a look at it. It's an unbelievable setup they have over there. I mean, it's very European, I think, in design, very forth, and they are double plumbed. The entire facility is double plumbed. They can't do anything with it right now, but should the day come, they're already plumbed to reuse water.
Gray water?
Which is really very interesting to see.
Nice.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Director Evans?
Yes.
Director Hernandez?
Yes.
Director Polo?
Yes.
Director Snell?
Yes.
Director Martin?
Yes. 2.5, final acceptance of water and sewer improvements for Palomar Station.
Yes, this is a project of 370 residential units, 38 of them mixed use. All fees have been paid, bonds have been posted, and staff is recommending that the board, final acceptance from the board of Palomar Station, water and sewer improvements, and authorize file of notice of completion.
Move as recommended by staff.
We have a motion
Second.
and a second. Roll call, please.
Director Evans?
Yes.
Director Hernandez?
Yes.
Director Polo?
Yes.
Director Snell?
Yes.
Director Martin?
Yes. 2.6, California Special District Association, committee and expert team participation.
Yes, the CSDA is looking for volunteers for their committees, and on page 71 of your packet, there's a list of the various committees that they have. Also on page 72, there's a list of these task force, or what do they call them, the expert team to give feedback, expert feedback teams. So they would look to maybe 3 or 4 or 5 calls a month, maybe usually by email, to solicit advice, probably when they're considering legislation and things like that, where they need little expertise in. So 2 different areas where they're looking for volunteers, and this is just open for the board direction if anybody is interested.
Okay, is there a time limit on this? I didn't notice
Yes,
that.
it was October 10th, I think.
So if anyone is interested
October
whatsoever, it
10th.
doesn't take a motion, I would just contact you.
They can just contact Diane or contact me. Mhm.
So that's nothing to go on there, okay? 2.7, call for nominations to LAFCO.
Yes, and LAFCO has two open one regular position and one alternative position on their special district commission. And right now, the incumbent on the regular position is Bud Pockington, and he's not looking for reelection, Bud. And then Joe, we all know Joe McKenzie, she is the alternate position now and will be looking to run for that permanent position. And there's a letter in here supporting Joe from General Manager of VID as well, a couple pages back from this report. So again, this is open for board direction or any nominations for any of those positions. No actions required, but
I would recommend we back Joe McKenzie. She knows all of us, we know her. She's excellent. She's been an alternate for 7 years, I think.
yeah, she's been in there for a while and is a real advocate of CSDA. She's come before us too with the CSDA matters as well.
How do we back her? I mean, what options do we
We need a
have?
letter of recommendation or a nomination, or what do we
I
do?
think just a vote.
Once they have all the nominations and they send out the ballot, then that's when we will fight on that vote. Right now, they're just soliciting nominations for those positions.
Okay, so if anyone has an interest in the alternate position, let it be known to Diane as well.
Okay.
I had a closing date as well?
Yes, October 3rd is the closing date for nominations, October 3rd. And then there'll be a forum, as noted over here, on November 20, and that happens once in a while. If you go to the CSDA quarterly meeting, they'll have a forum where the candidates will speak, and you can hear from each of the candidates.
Okay, we're gonna go reports. General Manager's report.
Now you got
Actually, item
Oh,
2A.
2.8.
Oh, yeah.
2.8, General Manager's review, and this was put on by Director Evans.
Thank you, President Martin. I just hope you'll indulge me. I really put this on for clarification, and I was a little concerned with consistency and intent. When we did his review, and then we did the general counsel's review, we had talked about moving the evaluation to a 2-year period. And we sort of mulled that over, and then with this one, we had said the salary would put it in 2 years with a review in between of satisfactory, and when we did the councils, we've gone every 2 years. So I would just like to see how you feel about modifying it so that what we have is, it would say, the motion that was made on in whenever it was, March, we would could we change it so that he would go ahead and get the additional salary increase effective on July 1st, and that we would make his evaluations every 2 years, which means he would actually be evaluated in 2016. And there wouldn't be that evaluation contingency in this. And to be honest, I think an evaluation every year is great, but since we talked about it, and we'd already moved the councils to 2, it just seemed we should be consistent in what we're doing. So it's up for opinion.
Okay, so just for clarification for me, I'm sorry. As it stands right now, July 1st, 2015.
Okay, right now it stands that he will have a salary increase on July 1st, 2015 after completion of a satisfactory performance evaluation. I would like to remove the upon completion of and just have it so the increase we talked about, and then have, if whatever we need to do to make his, I don't know if we need another motion, and this is gonna fall on just rules of order and the legal part, but I'd like his evaluations to be every 2 years, the next one being 2016.
So how do we leave it? Do you, Tom, can you help us out at all as far as?
I mean, it is an item for a discussion here on
I'm just wondering what it
agenda.
is now. What do you think?
Right now, I think that
left
what Director Evans is saying is that last phrase, that upon completion of satisfactory performance evaluation, was really intended for 2016, because the 4.5 was part of the evaluation that had already been done.
Okay.
So I don't think the intention was, and that's why it's here for discussion, I don't think the intention was to have another evaluation before the 2-year period.
I remember, I just remember
Why-
it totally,
Sorry.
I remember it totally differently. I remember it as evaluation was completed for the year, and we gave them a raise based upon that evaluation. And that we would increase that raise upon a satisfactory evaluation, which is not as in-depth as what we just went through, at the end of a 1-year period. I initially brought up, I thought it should all be done at one swoop, but I was told by other board members, no, we should break it down. It wasn't my thought, but we did it. And I don't see any reason to change it personally. I don't see the problem, but I don't know. Director Evans?
I was just going to say, I agreed with you. My understanding was that in order to receive this second increase, it was a completion of a satisfactory performance evaluation. It wasn't given. And that's my concern. I feel it reads both ways. I just want to be sure where we're at, and I don't feel we are consistent.
Okay.
Yeah, it is kind of strange in the sense that we're actually telling them that we got a raise this year and they'll have a raise next year based upon evaluation next year. So why wouldn't, as Director Martin was saying, why wouldn't we have given it this year? But we did what we did, so we either stay with it, which is you do the lighter type of evaluation or not as in-depth, and we go with it, or we could say we don't evaluate it next year, and we just go with it. So that's the two options I was looking at.
Yeah,
Director Sano?
I'd be more comfortable doing some sort of evaluation before anybody gets a raise, regardless what their position is. I think that a raise should be, a merit increase based off their performance, and that performance should be evaluated to a certain extent, at least, before a determination is made.
I'm not in disagreement with you. I'm in disagreement with the wording of the motion. So what we're saying is we'll just let it stand. We'll do an evaluation, assuming he passes it. He's already guaranteed a raise. And then if we want to discuss changing when we evaluate, we'll do that at some other point.
I think that's
That kind of,
Yeah, I think we put ourselves in this predicament, so.
Yes, we
and-
did.
And we're not really guaranteeing him a raise. We're
Yeah,
saying
nothing's
Right.
guaranteed.
Because.
no, I meant
because of the way
if
it is.
he completes it.
Yeah.
So we just leave it the way it is.
Yeah.
We'll take it up next.
Okay, thank you, then
Thank you.
that's my concern.
Now we'll move to 3.1, General Manager Report.
Yes, just one item on the general manager's report that I have for Dennis in his absence here. For the public outreach and communication plan, we received 4 bids on that and have to still review them yet. I haven't gone through completely yet to review them. About 2 of them really stand out. That seem to only 2 seem to be viable. But, so we need a complete review. The board had discussed at another meeting an interest in possibly evaluating, reviewing some of these. So I just wanted to, again, bring that up to your attention on that. I spoke to Dennis about this, and I just wanted to, can't have an action item here because it's not agendized, but just to maybe get a consensus and a discussion on where you want to go with that. It would be a pretty involved review. Dennis was guessing about maybe 1 hour per proposal if you were looking at that. So it would either have to be, if we want to avoid a lot of overtime for staff, it would have to be a little bit early of a meeting. It would have to be a special meeting, aside from a board meeting because of the time requirement involved in doing this. So earlier the better. And then we'd have to, if the board was going to participate in a review, come up with some review questions. I actually invited the proposers to look at this stuff. Just wanted to see if there was still, Dennis just wanted to see if there was still an interest by the board and to get a consensus on
And just for clarification before the didn't we leave it that we were going to be taking in all of it and we closed the deadline date and then staff was gonna go with 3. Am I in my mind,
Well-
do I have this right?
You were gonna narrow it down.
We're gonna narrow it down,
to
yeah.
3, and then we were gonna interview the 3.
Yeah, the 3, hopefully the 3 was just kind of a guideline, but typically what happens is there may be a natural separation, and that's what it appears to be. I haven't reviewed them yet, but if there's a natural separation, we only have 2, you know?
Well, let me ask you a question. How many replies did you receive?
4.
4. And you haven't reviewed them?
No, I haven't reviewed them yet myself, they just came in.
When did the date close on
It's closed Friday, was the date it closed, so they've been,
it? Just this past Friday?
yeah,
Okay.
Friday at
so
4:59
only 4,
was the last one.
and you're gonna narrow it down to 3?
If we can narrow it down to 3, it'll be, you know, it's usually a natural, you know, if there's one that's way out of the 3, why bring 3? You know, that's usually okay, it's usually a natural cutoff that we see.
Dr. Bull?
I'd just like to say that I'm not in favor of the board doing the interviews because, in my perspective, it's not the board's position. All we do is set policy, and we direct the general manager on what we want him to have done, and I just don't think it's part of our objective scope of work, so to speak. So, my 2 cents.
Director Sinal?
I'll throw mine in. Since I actually asked for this to come up, I would agree with Director Podol in 99.9% of the cases, and I would never imagine that the board's ever going to be interviewing bidders for most projects. However, in this particular case, because this presentation that's being developed is being developed for the board to take out to the community and perform outreach, I think we should have a little bit of input since we're going to be the ones presenting it and essentially owning it in the sense of kind of presenting it in a way that it's ours. And so I think we should have a little bit more feedback because the initial discussions that we've already had surrounding this topic, we've had a workshop, we've had a presentation made by a board member that was presented to us, and there's not a lot of consensus. We've had a consultant come in and interview all 5 of us, and we haven't really seen a whole lot out of that yet either. And so I think if we don't go through this process and take the couple of hours that it really needs to be vetted, we're not gonna have a consensus, and we're gonna end up probably not having anything because I just don't. We got to get the buy-in from everybody here in this particular instance.
Director Hernandez?
And I would agree with Director Snell on this, but I would suggest if after you and the general manager review them, and there is one that is way out in left field, then truly we don't need to waste our time. Doing 3, and if the second one is way out there, then doing 2, it makes sense, and I certainly would leave that up to in my opinion, to bring us the best review. And if it's 2 or 3, that's good. So, and taking the extra time, it's, as Director Snell has said, we're going to be dancing with this individual, so I think we need to know who our partner's going to be.
Director Evans?
Okay.
You're fine. All I want to say is I would agree with Director Podol on 99.92. This is the only time I would see a difference because this firm is going to help us put a face on Vallecitos. It's a huge transparency transfer that we've been going through, and we're going to be part of being out talking to the public. So it's us, and as we said, we've seen different buy-in from different people as on the council, on the board, as to how they see this should be laid out. So I think it's really ours, and I think an integral part of this is Lisa, who I've watched give many presentations now, and she does a great job as a presenter. I think we should, this is not technical. Anything technical should be up to staff, and we shouldn't get our hands wet at all. But this is more about us than about staff, other than Lisa. This is about PR. This is about going out there and, don't pay attention to the guy behind the curtain. type of stuff that we do as a board. So this is the only time that I can see that I would agree that I think that bids should be something that anyone else, any other
So
input?
what's the direction we're giving to?
I thought we had already come to an agreement.
Well, Director Hernandez had said one thing, just saying that if there was a clear-cut winner, so I just wanted to know, for the clarity, for the general manager, what should he be bringing back to us?
I think we should see 3. We said 3 originally, I don't see a reason to change that. We only got 4, so we're gonna assume 1 is far out there, but 3 gives us a good mix, I think. Director Evans?
Thank you, President Martin. I'd like to just state that there's only 4 applicants. I think there's a great difficulty on this prior, working on the subject of the board coming to agreement. In this case, I really do side with Director Podol. I feel like I would trust staff to pick someone and then we would need to work with it. But if we're uncomfortable with that, I think we should just go with the 2 best, and we need to choose between the 2. I think unless I just feel 2 is enough. I was assuming we'd have a lot more than 4 people, but if we're gonna trust staff to throw out 1 and we're gonna pick out of the other 3, we might as well just say, oh, give us all 4. I mean, really, I think 2's more than efficient if we have to do this at all.
Yeah.
Your general manager would like to know.
And just typically, how something like this would work too, is we wouldn't want everybody to come in just for the sake of coming in as a courtesy to the, other side of the fence, as a courtesy to the consultants or the people. If they're seriously being considered, it's a time commitment to come on in and helps us helps the board evaluate when we've narrowed it down to not a fixed number, but the actual ones that kind of float to the top. And of course, we give you that criteria, how we floated them to the top.
Mr. President. Director Hernandez.
And I would anticipate, having done this many times myself, making a short list and have to come and make a presentation to either a selection committee or a board. These individuals are not just gonna show up and chat, they're gonna have a presentation. And that is, sometimes depending upon the project, it's a sizable investment. So, if there, and that's why I said, if there is and having been one of 40 deliveries, I mean, they throw you out if you got a comma in the wrong place. So, but when we get down to 4, if there is a clear odd individual, I don't think that makes sense to put them through this situation when there's just no chance. But the bottom 3, we said 3, I think we need to do 3 and move through it, and if it takes an hour each, fine, that's what it takes.
I was confused by what you said. So you said, number 1, if there was a clear-cut winner.
No, I said, if I said that, I didn't mean if there was a clear individual that wasn't part of any opportunity at all.
You wouldn't invite them, to the board.
Oh, I'm sorry, I misunderstood.
Yeah, then they don't need to show up.
Yeah.
But the other 3 should.
Tom, do we even have an idea of what kind of dollar values we're talking here?
The interviews wouldn't be based on cost. We'd be looking at their qualifications in that point, and I haven't seen the bids for the dollars yet, or what, haven't seen them yet. Yes.
But we did receive a guesstimation of what the cost was going to be. Do you know if?
Lisa, do you remember what that was, if you can?
I thought it was 50,000. Oh, did we budget 100? They must all be within that range. Okay.
But just to be clear, we didn't budget 100 just solely for a presentation. That
No.
was part of the that's
Yeah,
everything. And
that's
we may or
everything.
may not even use that entire 100.
Right.
Sounds like a big number, but it's only a third of a pump to James. Director Evans.
127.
Thank you. Well, if we have four and we're going to say one is really odd, let's say, and we have three, and we just pick three because we chose the number three last time. But what if in the interviews, staff really sees that there's two that are way off on the other side, and there's really only two that they even feel we'd be interested in? Why would we limit it to and say you must give us three? And in reverse of that, if there's only four, would it not save money, energy, and time if staff brought forward just the one they thought was the best, and we work with it, and if we don't agree with that individual, then we say no, and we start over? It seems to me we're kind of going for three for, I mean, the real important thing is to find someone we can work with, and I felt there's only four. I would certainly feel there's, I don't want to say you have to bring me three, and if they all aren't worthy, I don't want any of them, to be honest. I don't want to waste my time. I don't want to waste our board's time talking to four individuals who you feel, well, this is all we got, and none of them are what we want. So.
Okay, so the question boils down to this: do we want to trust staff to pick one for us, or do we want to have the option of talking to them so that we can see if we like one of them more than the other?
Well, the option.
I personally don't trust an engineer to make a PR decision. I would trust him to make any engineering decision in the world, but not a PR decision, especially with a board of 5 elected officials that see things differently already.
Yeah, and if it makes the board more comfortable, I could handle moving forward with just 2 versus 3. Doesn't have to be 3, but the spirit of bringing this up initially was because the challenges that we've been having with it, and none of us really have a background in marketing, branding, public relations. I just want to see options. I want to see what 2 different firms might present, because they may present things differently, and I won't know that if I don't actually go through the process and see it.
Director Hernandez.
I would like, because I think you misused the word, I don't think it's a trust issue. I think thank you. So,
Thank
yeah, I would move we bring 3 of the best proposals to the board.
It's not for action here because it's only a
Oh,
report.
no action? Oh,
Just getting a
All right.
consensus. Just getting a,
Consensus.
we'll come back with an item and.
Thank you for correcting my word, that wasn't improper use.
I knew it was.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah.
That is what I meant.
Yeah.
My heart was pure. My mouth was foul.
So just curious, what are you
So
going to report back?
consensus seems to be, correct me if I'm wrong, 3 back to us, I think, which is what we originally agreed to last time.
We will come back with, will we have enough time, Lisa, for the next board meeting to put it on the agenda and actually have, if 2, we'll let you know, basically what our
If we put on the agenda, you're gonna call for a special meeting.
initial, yeah, in that meeting, then we would call for a special meeting.
After the,
Then we can discuss it at that.
so it's going to be at least.
If we put it on, I don't think they're gonna be prepared to, before we meet next time. We
No,
can
no.
probably schedule that
If they
out in
don't, if
advance.
they can't put together a proposal in 3 weeks, we don't want to talk, I don't want to talk to them.
Yeah.
Tough group.
Public meeting, right?
Yeah, I think that the main concern is a natural cutoff, or do we look for 3 to bring? And that's what,
consensus
Director Martin, you're
is
looking for 3 to bring, but,
3 is what we said?
Yeah.
I'm
Bring 3.
hearing 3 is a consensus.
okay.
No,
You can't take a
not
vote,
totally,
so.
but-
Yeah, well, let me bring this back to Dennis, and then we'll see what the general manager, how he'll structure but certainly it'll be on the agenda for next time to call for a special meeting.
Okay, we can spend another half hour on it.
This is
the next-
just informative today. Information today and
Just an
consensus.
informal consensus, and
Thank you.
keep the conversation going, since we have the bids in. Yeah.
We got another hour to talk about next meeting. District Legal Counsel. You guys get paid by the hour?
council report today.
Look at that.
Oh, all
Yeah,
right.
hallelujah.
Thank you very much. San Diego County Water
Thank you for
Authority.
the opportunity.
Well, I actually had several things. We had a very, very interesting meeting on the 28th. And one of the things is we had a presentation on El Nino. And of course, you've probably heard, it's a 50-50 chance of it happening. And even more interesting in that is that there's like a 60-40 chance with an El Nino that will actually bring a dry spell, 60 wet and 40% dry. And if we even had a really, really big El Nino, it would not bring us out of this drought. We would be still playing catch up. So it's very interesting. They say that right now the Colorado River is running fine, but we're going to start to see as this continues. And now they've put the historical data together that shows California tends to have 100-year droughts, and that they've done enough tree rings, I guess, to say. So it was quite interesting that to say, and it's also been the hottest year. In this winter, we were 2 degrees above normal everywhere, and that's why we had no snowpack. It all melted. So that was a very sobering one. On a positive note, we brought forward the bond issue, and I wanted to pass these out to you. It's just a little thing they've had on what is beneficial in the bond to San Diego. And I know that the Water Authority spent a great amount of time practically living in Sacramento to work on this, and that was done at the last second to get to it. And as you know, it's in the 7 million range. But what they were very pleased about is it says on that little paper is, I probably sent you the wrong one. Did I just send you groundwater sustainability? I meant
Yes.
water bond.
Yes.
Hold that one for 1 second. They were just saying that everything that they had been looking for, they actually got on the bond to some degree or another. And I thought the benefits was it's for potable reuse, non-potable water recycling, desalination, water use efficiency. They also made the funds more equitable, so San Diego's got quite a bundle that will be of benefit to it, and it was made what they called tunnel neutral, and that there's no delta sustainability that's in this bond. They just couldn't get people to come on board with it. And if you look at the top on the water bond details up here, where it's chapter 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, etc., several of these will fall in where we may be able to take advantage of them, particularly the water security and the drought preparedness for regional water management and efficiency, stormwater capture, and surface and groundwater storage. So they were very, very pleased. Was it perfect? No. But it's the first time I've ever seen the legislative people come in and the lobbyists and say, they kind of went like, hallelujah, the system actually works. And they actually got people who had been opposed to the original bond to sign on to get it. So there's no school bond on it this time. Is that correct, Jim? Yeah,
That's
and they
correct.
are hoping that rather than the teachers, whatever it's called, education group, going against the bond, which of course to them it means money they won't get, they're hoping they'll draw a neutral line with that and help support it. So this bond, a lot of people say, oh, it's all for up north. It really isn't. It has some substantial funding that could be of benefit to us. And then there's 2 other bills that we're hoping will go through and we're supporting, and that was this AB 1739 and SB 1168 on the groundwater sustainability. And I'm not going to go through the whole thing. It's just that they're really trying to open up the policy to work out the groundwater situation, and they're going to be categorizing areas, and as the higher the priority, the more attention they're going to get. But they're working very hard and hoping to have it in full operation by 2020. So there's some arguments with it, but and the bills are together, even though they work together. If one fails, the other fails. So they're hoping to go through. And then the water sub-metering, which was, we talked about with the multi-units would have their meters and be able to, they mostly say it has proven to increase conservation. Once people know what they're doing, and they're hoping that that alone will make it beneficial. There was something else I wanted you to know, pass this out because You probably are aware that we had our little, we're in the midst of litigation with MWD on the rates. And I think the most important thing we came away with at this point, we've had to file again for the rates coming up, the 2014, 15, 15, and 16, because the method of establishing the rates were not changed by MWD, even though the court ruling is totally against them. They have ruled in favor of the water authority, and they say that Metropolitan's water rates are illegal. They go against the Prop 26, I believe it is. And I'm gonna pass this out for you. It's very interesting. It's a little legalese-ish, but it sort of gives you an idea of, we all agree we want to get rid of the animosity and move forward. And with the new, director, Randy Record, you might know him from the others, he has a much more open flowing feeling that was pulled together. But they really are saying, I mean, one of their clauses was that they felt they had they could approve their rates because their board had agreed to them. So their board, it wasn't the electorates, they were the electoral vote that was voting. And they also said, we don't impose the rates, they're voluntary. Well, how do you get out of them?
Well, then we
But you
won't
will
pay.
see some of their little comments and how they've taken what was used to be under one category and put it under the wheeling fee. So San Diego Water Authority is paying all of it. And the judge has basically ruled against that. There's a couple things he left in favor, and they're going to go through appeal. But I think it's important that we learn a little bit about it. So when we talk about it, we're stating we don't need the animosity, we don't need the fight. But in the bottom line, it's about the ratepayers, and we are paying, as the water authority, I'm talking, we're all paying the rates for a lot of districts up there who should be paying a portion of what we've been paying for transportation fees. And you have a judge saying the rates are not based on cost, and your rates are not based on what they should be. So I think we just need to be careful. We all need to be nice about it, but hopefully that will work out. It might be another 20 years, but yes, Jim.
Isn't some of that money, I'm sorry?
Sorry, I bypassed the president.
Oh, no, isn't some of that money that we're paying, like, maybe it's for the wheeling, isn't that going into an escrow account?
Yeah, they're holding a big escrow account.
Because they haven't made decisions, but all that money's being banked, and it's gotta be heard in Metropolitan.
Yes, they have money. Part of our wheeling money goes into escrow because it was set up that whoever won would get this money back. Now they're trying to negotiate even that portion of the deal and saying, well, no, you shouldn't get that money back either. But in a way, we're paying ourselves to get our own money back. But we're hoping that legally that won't happen. It's not supposed to be money from the water authority going into that escrow, but it is. I mean, the whole thing, it really shouldn't be about the money. The real thing is we should make the rates fair. And then if we can get our money back, it would be wonderful, but you know the lawyers. Yes.
Well, one of the comments I've heard floating around for as long as I've been on board is that even if we win, will our ratepayers benefit at all for this money that's been in there? You're shaking your head, yes, Tom?
Yeah, yes, they will.
Can you talk to me about that?
Yeah, I mean, if we, it's all about how we set rates on revenue requirement. Those, if we got a share of that money, and we would get a share of that escrow account coming through, the water authority's already mentioned that it would come back to their member agencies as well. And then that would, I showed that slide that you sort of water reserves and what's available. That would go directly to that 5.8 million, and then when we set rates and target a reserve amount, there's already amount in there, so it does have,
Then,
does have an
it
impact.
will be up to the board in our discussions about
That's correct.
rates, whether we
Where's a comfortable reserve?
raise the reserve and keep it, or take some of that reserve and ease the increase to our ratepayers.
Right.
Well, it's one and the same. It will all go into that reserve, but it's the board that will make that decision to say, you know, let's lower what we normally would have done for a rate and target a certain reserve. So,
All right.
yeah.
But my opinion is more than no offense to any current attorneys, more than likely, there'll be a settlement agreement. And it'll be Metropolitan if we truly do win, going, Maricopa, from this day forward, we'll take care of it. Forget about the back stuff. And the attorneys over all these years have gotten paid from Metropolitan, which is us, and from San Diego County Water Authority, which is us. Our ratepayers are paid for the whole fiasco. But that's my opinion.
I'm writing that down.
Yeah.
Ratepayers
See if I
paying for
would
those
do
fees, yeah.
I would like to say that, yes, we do have it set up that whatever is settled, whatever the settlement is, it goes back to the agencies, and you will get it prorated on how much water you drew, year by year by year by year. And it's a significant amount of money, even if there's a partial settlement. And I don't believe at this point, maybe you're right, Hal, but I don't believe it would be a zero compensation. They've already agreed, basically, in their trying to move it, is to say, well, instead of us giving you all the money, what if we come up with a rate we should have charged you? And then we get to keep that amount, and you can have the difference of the overage. So there's flexibility, but I think that it would be very difficult for there to be nothing.
Oh, yeah.
So, and then I had one other little thing I thought you'd find very interesting, and this is, we were talking about the pump station. You all went and saw the raise on the San Vicente Dam, and so the next thing is, the San Vicente Dam raise was really done to supply a water source for the Pure Water project in San Diego. So it's really about that. And they don't want anything to, in the process to damage the IPR project. But what they're looking at is pump storage, and that would mean going out and putting a smaller reservoir at a higher elevation, and then we would build a big pump station, and they're talking $2-some million at this point, which I think isn't even maybe the building of it, it's a lot of this design and all the work for the reservoirs, because they would have the ability to do what we've done at Hodges and Oliebenhain, is it? Yeah, to make energy. So it's becoming the pump storage, they need to do a study. This has been going on for several years, and they've had to request additional extensions on the permitting project with, I think it's the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission or something. The last time they went in for it, they denied a renewal because they said, you aren't moving ahead, you're not proving you're serious, because the dam was held up because of the construction clause, and there was a big litigation, which, by the way, the Water Authority won, and it was like $1.6 million. So, but that, we couldn't fill the dam until we got the litigation filled, and now we're waiting for the corn. So they're all saying, now what do? Do we keep moving forward to act like we're serious, or do we pull back and wait and see if they're gonna give us a permit, and do we really need that permit? It was very interesting, the debate, because they figure out if they do it, it's a perfect place with sustainable and renewable energy. They need somewhere to put this energy when you get it in the day, at night, and hydrology is the best way to do it. But there was an interesting debate on should water districts even be in energy at all. And it's funny because when we were talking about, you were talking about cost to the ratepayer, this one really becomes, the value is that you can store water and be on demand if they need energy, whether they use it or not, that any power company can come in. But the power companies won't commit until you have it built. Usual catch-22.
Yeah.
But that was one of the questions, and they were saying it's not that you could go and say, we're gonna make money and be giving money back to our customers. It's what pays off, it can pay itself off fairly quickly, but it's the possibility of keeping the costs much lower than you would otherwise. But I wish I had, it been for you to hear, because it was very interesting debate on a very subject. I think everyone mostly agrees, though, it's a good thing. The dam's there, and the reservoir, the sites are pretty easy to get the EIRs undone. But that's one more of those interesting things going on in the universe.
Thank you.
Thank you for letting me ramble.
Indiana Wastewater Authority, Capital Improvement Committee.
We did not have a meeting this month.
You seem to have a lot of these.
No,
I don't think you've had a meeting since I've.
Yeah.
been on the
Oh,
board.
my God. Please.
Sorry to say,
This Jim
every time we
does,
have a
that
meeting,
Jim
we
does it.
spend money, so we don't have a meeting with Steve.
There you go.
Hey, Director Public Policy and Finance Committee.
Yeah, neither of the committees met this month. We did have a board meeting. So we had a presentation by our community engagement company, I guess it's called Rising Tide Partners. And they put up statistics, it's pretty impressive actually, about social media information. And it was, every time they do it, it's just pretty impressive, because they break it down to how many hits you got and the age bracket of the hits and type of information that goes out, who listens, who doesn't listen, and who's inquiring, and who likes you, who doesn't.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
It's
They get all
it's
that.
impressive.
Well, very impressive. What it does is, some of the things we've asked for those matrix here at the district, they have in fact do it, and they have a dashboard, quite a dashboard.
Ooh.
Yeah, so that you can read along and see what's going on, and then the explanation was just quite clear, particularly for an old dog like myself, about Twitter and pinnets and all this other hocus pocus. They've got it nailed as to who's looking at what, and I was quite surprised. Actually, I wasn't so surprised, but I'm glad they picked it up. The biggest one-day hit of 5,700 hits was when Kevin Hardy did the Lou Gehrig disease water challenge.
Yeah, it's water challenge.
And he videoed it
Cool, what about it?
with the ice thing in the garden, so that we weren't wasting water. And 5,700 hits that day. So that was pretty impressive.
Reusable water.
Yeah. So, it does work.
We also did a presentation on Irvine Ranch, not a presentation, but talked about Irvine Ranch Water District resource sharing. And so the Orange County, is it the Orange County Water District?
Yes.
And I think it's the Irvine Ranch Water District, so one's a sewer agency and the other's water. And they're pretty tied into water reuse, and now they're getting into the resources of solid byproducts of the wastewater industry. So I guess Encina is going to be like a mentor to that organization, and we're sharing talent and know-how. And so we're becoming real well-known.
Yeah.
Do we get any money back for it?
That's what I asked.
It's
Potential.
goodwill.
Goodwill.
Oh, yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
They'll buy some bags of fertilizer.
What you're also going to see is, and it's really an opportune time for the water industry, and we'll call the wastewater industry water industry as well, because it's going to be all about resources, and the strategic layout of Encina wastewater as it relates to the desal plant, and then as it relates to the ability to step its water purification up to what do you call it, tertiary level, and how you reintroduce that, which hasn't been done before here, into the water stream as a water resource. So there's a lot of discussion about that. Should we go up to the desal plant, which we're not far away from, and run it through the desal plant, or do we just tie into their source or their discharge, supply water, and use it as that? But it's a great opportunity for the Encina Wastewater Authority to make better use of the resources, and of course, we're all members of that. So.
And towards that end, we're going to have our strategic workshop here, I think on the 18th, where in fact we're going to discuss all this and see if we can come out of it with direction for goodness knows how much further to clarify, because even the novice that I've been on the board, what I have heard and know is sooner or later, they're going to pinch off that pipe into the ocean. And then what are we going to do? So this could be, I personally believe, a blessing in disguise. So we'll see what happens.
That's all I have.
Pinch off that pipe. You're going to pinch that pipe off.
Yeah, it's kind of a visual term for.
Yeah.
Yeah, for the
We got that
wastewater.
one down. Pinched it. Okay, director's reports on travel, conferences, seminars. Gonna bring up one, I'm not prepared to do the other two until the next meeting, but the one I wanna bring up is the one that Lisa had last week, and if you could help me out with it, because I want to explain to them what you did. I was over at the city of San Marcos, and I was at the city of San Marcos, and they had three main speakers. It was the fire chief, well, one of the fire chiefs, a new one, and then Vallecitos Water, which you gave a brilliant performance at, as well as the gal from Liebenheim, don't remember her name. And then it was the Green Thumb Gardener, I got his name.
Oh, Greg Rubin.
Very interesting.
He was fascinating.
Beautiful plants. I mean, you can do some really great stuff. And my question is, why haven't we done that out here?
We have a lot of the
I
natives.
saw some big red colors and big blue colors that I haven't seen out here yet. Am I just here at the wrong time of year?
The,
The big red blooms and the big blue.
out in the garden here?
blooms? Yeah.
Yeah.
Do we
yeah.
have those?
We do. We
I
have.
have to pay better
yeah,
attention.
Yeah.
But just a great job, and I don't know how many people would you say were there?
We had about 100, yeah.
It was a good crowd, the room was full, asked a lot of good questions.
Mm-hmm.
You gave a great presentation, and they didn't really ask any tough questions.
Just the development,
Yeah,
the typical, yeah.
yeah, that way, yeah.
Why do we allow development during a drought?
Yeah, that's always a question.
Gets a little heated.
Why do we do all
Yeah.
So, but I just wanted to come up in case I blew it really bad.
No,
It was
you did
very-
great.
It was great,
You
but
did
2
great.
hours, very well spent. The audience was very receptive to it. Fire chief was really good too.
Mm-hmm.
And like you said, you and the gal from Liebenheim did a great job. I didn't quite get the Liebenheim connection though.
It was just a partnership. It's a lot easier to,
Oh.
organize
Sure.
these events if everybody chips in a little bit, and it helps their customers, helps our customers, so.
Okay.
Yeah,
So
and
you
we
do-
work so closely with
So
the
you do the
Liebenheim.
same thing for Liebenheim, you go over to theirs.
We've done, yeah,
Because
we
the
did
majority
a,
of the customers that I saw that were there were.
They were mostly
San
about-
Marconians.
yeah.
There weren't a lot of Liebenheimians.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's the word or not.
We did
Wait.
another, the Rain Barrel Workshop a while back was a joint project with the Liebenheim as well. That was last year.
I believe the title was Firewise, and so Olivia and I should be involved in that, because they were just across the road.
Exactly.
Involved in all that too, so.
They were
That's-
touched
It was
by
a
the
great
fires.
time to have that.
Unified protection.
Good job, a lot of good questions. So
I
what else?
was just gonna ask you, was our landscape out here done by Greg Rubin?
We got a quote, it was a little, yeah, so no.
It was done with the
It
college.
was done by the college students, yes. It was much more affordable.
Interesting looking at his pictures of the fire and where it burnt up to some of his landscaping and
Mhm.
stopped, and it looked to me like it was weeds.
Mhm.
There was a particular type of wheat that doesn't burn, and they're native. He's very much into native plant.
Yes.
Not even just the, there's someone that lives here in this arid area. So it was very interesting, so thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. And she will be performing next on the 16th of this month
Yes.
for the Chamber of Commerce has a breakfast, and the B&N Business Builder, BBN, Business Builders Network, and of course, you're all invited. It's at 7:30 at the Broken Yoke. The cost is free to her, but $10 to anybody else that wants to show up, Tom. Stops him. And it's about 25 or 30 people, and they ask for a presentation from Warner about the crowd.
Great. If it's okay, I was going to ask James to be there
Oh,
as
that'd be
well
great.
to talk about if
And
there's
they'll take care of
any
his
questions
breakfast as
about
well.
development and things like that.
Yep.
Okay.
And his breakfast as well, just Tom.
I want to speak too.
Okay, meetings, other business meetings, we have the Aqua Fall Conference coming up in December. And I didn't read my notes on that, is it Sacramento or is it here?
Here in San Diego.
It's in San Diego, oh, great,
Every other year.
great, they should keep it here. Director's comments, Director Hernandez.
A couple. I have heard on 2 occasions over these last years that we too are looking at hydroelectricity in the Twin Oaks line. And if I heard correctly, if I remembered correctly, and I don't know, we haven't heard any, made a presentation or anything, if that's developing, if they're thinking about it, other than I was told by Dennis that at one point we were looking at, maybe we could do a small hydroelectric
something or other on the water going through, and there we have, of course.
Would you like to see
Ed-
that as
Ed
an
would-
agenda item at the
Well,
next meeting?
I'd like to hear about from Ed to see
Okay.
if we want to put it on the agenda.
That is actually a project that we've been working in operations. We have one consultant that we've worked with so far. James and I met with that consultant and got some rough numbers together. We're kind of looking at possibly doing a joint project if there's enough space inside our trestle flow control facility, which is on Twin Oaks, so that not only would we generate electricity 95% of the time while we're bringing water into the downtown area from our large Twin Oaks reservoirs, but during an emergency, reversing that power and pushing the water back up into the Twin Oaks Reservoir from the desal line. So that kind of expanded the project a little bit, so you may see something in next year's budget proposals on that.
Is it appropriate that we get a little presentation as to what we're talking about, or is it
I
too
don't think we're
premature?
that
Might
far
be able
yet, we're
to,
still looking at
might be able
feasibility.
to include it in the next CIP update.
Okay.
Can we
There
do
we
that?
go.
You
All
can-
right.
We have some rough numbers, we've
All right.
only worked so far with one consultant on it.
Perfect.
James,
I was just gonna say, it currently isn't a budgeted item, we're still working with a consultant on it, so there wouldn't be anything I could show
oh,
you.
okay, in the CIP update, that's true.
Except for, here's the concept, and here are some rough numbers, and we're still trying to figure out payback and trying to find some of those numbers, to agree to it as a new budget item next year.
Okay.
Try to get more accurate pump numbers as to what they cost.
But the consultant we're working with, they always want to sell it as it has a payback, and we have some concerns that the payback is not quite as rosy as they believe.
Yeah, we'll calc our own payback.
Mhm.
Yeah. Great,
Well,
thank you.
whenever it's appropriate, bring it forward, let us know. The other thing I have is, I did, my ears did perk up because I've heard this kind of a running theme, not only from Mr. Hunsinger, but a few others about the demand and increased EDUs. And have you guys been talking about this particular, I think this is the second time he's brought up the fact that they are in trouble and they're gonna have to increase their EDUs.
Yeah, just that it's private and we can't go on their property and, yeah, so, no, we haven't,
But in fact, is there going to be an increase in EDUs?
I don't know.
I see Mr. James has his hand up in the air.
Mr. Chair,
Stand up, I want to hear something going on. I mean,
Do you want-
Because as I say, this is
Yeah, please do.
this is not only from Mr. Hunsinger, but I've heard from others. What's going on?
Their entire site is actually served by one, I believe, 6-inch meter, and everything on site is private.
Right.
So there's no conversion to 3/4 or 1/2-inch meter. The 1 6-inch meter is equivalent for all their sites. We already in our structure account for mobile homes as a lesser unit.
Right.
Their sewer on site is private also. They collect on-site fees for maintenance of their facilities, whether they've done so or not, we don't know. But basically, from the district standpoint, we have a adequate meter size for them that does not need upgrading, and we have a public sewer connection from them that does not need upgrading. The private on-site is a issue for the individual community. There's no fees or rate structure that has been inclusive of that, except for their own fees to their own residents.
So this 200 EDUs has, perhaps it's something that internally they're charging somewhere else.
Yeah, I believe all he's doing is converting our current meters and thinking that each one would get individual meters and it'd be 200 EDUs, when in reality, the one, I can't remember if it's a 6 or 8-inch meter, is equivalent for their whole complex, and after that, it's private.
Thank you, that's clarified. Yes.
Has anybody sat down or offered to sit down with Mr. Hunsaker? This is obviously a very important matter to him. He's
Yeah,
been here
we-
2 or 3
we've,
times.
We've communicated with him.
Perhaps that might help out. I don't, maybe you already have, I don't know.
Yeah, we have.
Okay.
Yeah, I just wanted to clarify that. And I know we do have a policy, really, and that's, we go to stage 3, there is no more development. Am I correct on that? That's stage 3, you don't have your permit
Less
paid
fees
for,
are-
in place, you are SOL.
Even if it's paid for and in police and it's not turned on,
Yeah.
it could be SOL.
Well, it's stage 4.
Stage 4.
That's 4. 3 is, 3 is.
No,
you have-
you're right.
Yes, so, we do have a policy, and again, he doesn't know what he's talking about, so. All right, I'm happy to stop talking.
One comment that I have, Mr. Hernandez, that you'll be glad to hear. I got in a conversation the other day with some people from the city out of the blue, and they were telling me that over half their wells, the city's wells, are potable.
Potable?
Potable. And they're at 600 and 700 feet. That's potable. So it's leading credence to Jim's, call me the crazy old guy on the board, because there is potable water, and we don't know enough about it. And my question's gonna be to staff, why don't we? And is that what this, part of what we just sent out, that we're spending this money on this survey says? It's gonna come back with some more information on the wells, and the potability of wells, and how deep they are. I mean, that's significant to me at this point. I didn't think it was, but it seems to be.
Intuitive, just mine. Where I'm, when we do have, because I've asked Dennis this specifically, and he did say we're gonna have some presentation at this workshop. And my question is, what are they going to deliver to us regarding groundwater, and how are they gonna gather the information? I have been given the last report, and unless I'm reading it incorrectly, that report was a culmination of reading everybody else's report, regurgitating it and delivering it to us. I am expecting, and will ask the board to join me in demanding, that we test areas to find out, in fact, what the TDSs are, and the nutrient, what's going on with our water, how deep the wells are, and how much they are pumping, so that we can accurately make some decisions for the future. So please note that, so when that guy shows up and tells me he's gonna be reviewing reports, somebody will have to hold me back. I'm gonna come across the top of this thing.
Thank you. Any other comments, future agenda items? Director Sinella?
Just one comment, one question. To Lisa and your entire group, Lisa, this was just an unbelievable last couple of weeks. Everywhere, every publication I opened up, be it the City 360, the Share publication, the stuff that you did at the Boys and Girls Club, it seemed that Vallecitos was everywhere trying to get out the drought awareness message and just performing outreach. And I know we can't meet that every single month, but I just want to say great job. And then secondly, the question I had for staff was, we had gotten an email. I don't know if everybody on the board got an email, but I know at least a few of us got an email from a concerned customer regarding our tier rates. And I had a conversation with Tom about that last week on the phone, but I just wanted to follow up, Tom. Have we heard anything more from the customers? Have we satisfied his question? I know we can't give him what he wants, but have we at least satisfied him with an explanation?
No, the last email was not directed to us, but we did actually have a phone conversation with him.
Okay.
Yeah.
You know,
Mike, or John Fusco had addressed me.
Director Hernandez?
don't I remember that our first tier was at some distant past, was it 5 units? And now it's 2.4?
No, now it's 5.
Now it's 5?
No, it's not.
We carved out a tier, another tier out of the base tier and moved the base tier up to tier 2. So we carved out 5 units and there's just a wholesale cost.
So 5 is 1, and how many units do you spend in 2?
Depends on your meter size. If it's a base meter, up to from 6 to 17 units is tier 2 for a base meter. And then it goes up from there. If your meter's 1 inch, you get a bigger allotment and so on and so forth.
So 5, 17, and where's the next bump?
For a base meter?
Yeah.
17 to 36, I believe. So 18 to 36, so 6 to 17, tier
Yeah.
2.
Okay.
18 to 36, tier 3, and then beyond that's tier 4.
Is that read every month?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Because this one is
This-
2 months.
Okay, any other comments? No? And adjourn the meeting. Thank you very much.